on this computer and then upload it to YouTube. That's a great idea.
Do you think your computer can handle that?
I don't know. Who knows with my computer? It's schizophrenic, so you never know. So our challenges last week, or our application steps, we had quite a few. I love that you guys that we've so many different options from the standpoint of what we can do to apply the concepts. And Mandy, just to remind you, gave us a few different options. She said, take the languages of appreciation quiz with your staff and create an inventory. Use some of the languages. Ask yourself how you're using some of the languages already and working with your staff. Ask yourself, what are some other ways you can show regular, genuine appreciation? What do you need to improve upon? Think of something simple, and then you could take an inventory of staff likes, favorite food, drink, color, etc. Use when you have a birthday celebration, etc. So did anybody who got to the application step, what'd you do over this past week to apply the concept?
I did the favorite foods, drinks, that piece for staff, because we've got more birthdays coming up. So that worked. That was perfect timing.
You got a lot of staff, a lot of birthdays. It's great. Anybody else?
I slacked pretty hard on this, but I feel like I have a pretty good inventory of my staff's likes and everything like that already. But I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do the quiz or anything.
We had in our office, so I just kind of asked everybody, because I remember when we met the first time, we all just kind of talked about it, but I didn't write anything down or try to, I was like, oh, okay, so these guys are like me and these guys are a little different. And so I actually wrote it down so I could, visualize it and everything. And everyone was almost the same, but one person was slightly different. So I'm just being a little more conscious of, how different, they may respond to my different, rewarding and everything.
One thing that I was thinking about after that, though, is I have one person in particular who seems to be like very uncomfortable with praise. Like they get embarrassed or something almost. And so it can be hard to like show appreciation when it seems like, I mean, I know I'm like that personally, like if somebody tries to I'm not good at taking a compliment, so that can be kind of challenging with this sort of thing.
I agree, Christy. I think that is one of the hardest things, because I know, like, I am comfortable giving people compliments, but I'm not good at knowing how to accept them. I just feel like, oh, I just did my job. I don't need praise for that.
Yeah.
Whatever. I just feel weird when somebody, it feels, I like it. It's not that I don't like being praised for what I've done, but sometimes I feel awkward on how to accept it.
Right.
I need to work on that too.
I really like when you guys loop me in, as your staff are receiving praise, just as it allows me to reinforce that. Like I was in financial aid the other day and Mallory had shared about Marie. And I said, Marie, I heard, you had some great feedback from a parent. It just allows me to reinforce the affirmation that you're putting in place. And so when you loop me in, not only does it further affirm them, but it also allows me to step in and take that a step further. Like that, I really like having that information, and I like being a part of that process, being a partner in that process with you, of just encouraging and showing that appreciation for your staff. I'll tell you, my plan is to sit down and talk with Kelly and Mandy and Brad about those languages, just as we sit down in our weekly meeting and just work through, how can I do this better? How can I speak those languages and be more effective? Just have one-on-one conversations with each of those direct reports, because I want to be want to be better at that, you know, because I do genuinely appreciate everyone and their strengths, and even the way that they complement their weaknesses by equipping their staff. I really do appreciate that. And so just was planning on having that conversation, because it's like, what do I need to improve on? You know, as I was asking myself that question, I'm like, I don't know without asking the staff. I don't know without asking the leaders, the department directors. And so I think that to me just was like, okay, that's a cue to where, you know, Brad, Kelly, Christy, be ready in our next one-on-ones to talk about that, because I want to know. I want to know how. I want to ask. I want to know how I can do better. Sure. Nate, what do you find with those young folks? You know, what are you going to do with them, with Lucas and Frankie and
Dropping and what am I gonna do? You know, we've been planning some fun activities together, but you're right. I don't think I know. I think I should almost do that quiz with them, or I should find out what makes them tick, what their language of appreciation is. Because you know what, I think I have a good idea of what it might be from working with them, but you know, I should probably ask them, and I should probably figure that out. So maybe I'll forward them the quiz that Mandy sent us, or maybe I'll find a easy to fill out online one or something, or maybe I'll just ask them. You know what? I'll do the quiz, because if they're like, I actually like those quizzes. I like finding what the answer is. So, yeah, I should do that with my little crew of 3.
Brad, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to send that out, the quiz. I'm going to do it at some point. I was going to send it out this past weekend, and I stopped. I was like, wait a minute, this is end of term processing, trust credit, no credit on top of that, and beginning summer. I said, my staff is going to kill me. Like they're going to, you know what I would appreciate? I'd appreciate you not sending me this survey this week. So I did. I really was going to send it out Saturday, and I was like, wait a minute. No, I'm not going to get a good response rate from this, because it's full on crazy in here this week. So no.
Do you still have the link to that, Brad? Any chance you'd share that with me?
Yeah, yeah, let's see here. I definitely have it in my notes here. So, yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
I think Mandy included it in her email that she sent out after.
Oh,
you're probably right. She did.
Oh, yeah, well, she included an article. Well, anyways, yeah, I'll find it. Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you all for your feedback and just for thinking about that, and Brad, even for being sensitive to the work demand right now. I know Rochelle said that credit, no credit stack, it's like a mile high. So
yep.
That's an extra layer. I mean, we've got all these COVID layers with extra responsibility that we wouldn't have in a normal year, that just make things just so much more complicated and cumbersome, for sure. All right. Okay.
Side note, Brad, did you see I set up that credit, no credit form where it automatically fills in the E-number? So hopefully you're going to get a lot less bad. Hopefully you're going to get good data on that form.
I was unaware of that. So
yeah, we set it up. We put it. You have to log in with your EIU net ID and passwords. Only students can access it, and it automatically populates their name.
Oh, yeah, it just rolls that. That makes sense now. Yeah, because you have to authenticate in, and so it just rolls it into the form, so I don't get wrong E-numbers. I really appreciate that, because yes, that's very helpful.
Awesome. All right, Christy, ready to take over?
Sure. This one I found it was a little tricky to start with, because I feel like building a team atmosphere and morale in the workplace kind of touches on all of the other topics in a way. Like if we're doing all of these other things, it will build morale, you know. So it's kind of broad, but I found a lot of great things that I want to share. And so first is a video by Patty McCord, who used to be the chief talent officer at Netflix. And she's great. I ordered her book even. So let me see. Okay, can everybody see that?
It makes me crazy. We have to have all these stupid acronyms that describe things that nobody understands, OKRs and PIPs. I think we can run our businesses by just talking to each other like regular human beings. We might actually get more done. I really always wanted to be an HR professional. I wanted to be able to speak the language of management. And you know what I've learned after all this time? I don't think any of it matters. There's all kinds of things that we call best practices that aren't best practices at all. How do we know it's best? We don't measure this stuff. In fact, I've learned that best practices usually means copying what everybody else does. Our world is changing and evolving all the time. Here's some lessons to help you adapt. Lesson 1, your employees are adults. You know, we've created so many layers and so many processes and so many guidelines to keep those employees in place that we've ended up with systems that treat people like they're children, and they're not. Fully formed adults walk in the door every single day. They have rent payments, they have obligations, they're members of society. They want to create a difference in the world. So if we start with the assumption that everybody comes to work to do an amazing job, you'd be surprised what you get. Lesson 2, the job of management isn't to control people, it's to build great teams. When managers build great teams, here's how you know it. They've done amazing stuff. Customers are really happy. Those are the metrics that really matter, not the metrics of, do you come to work on time? Did you take your vacation? Did you follow the rules? Did you ask for permission? Lesson 3, people want to do work that means something. After they do it, they should be free to move on. Careers are journeys. Nobody's going to want to do the same thing for 60 years. So the idea of keeping people for the sake of keeping them really hurts both of us. Instead, what if we created companies that were great places to be from? And everyone who leaves you becomes an ambassador for not only your product, but who you are and how you operate. And when you spread that kind of excitement throughout the world, then we make all of our companies better. Lesson 4, everyone in your company should understand the business. Now, based on the assumption that we've got smart adults here, the most important thing we can teach them is how our business works. When I look at companies that are moving fast, that are really innovative, that are doing amazing things with agility and speed, it's because they're collaborative. The best thing that we can do is constantly teach each other what we do, what matters to us, what we measure, what goodness looks like, so that we can all drive towards achieving the same thing. Lesson 5, everyone in your company should be able to handle the truth. You know why people say giving feedback is so hard? They don't practice. Let's take the annual performance review. What else do you do in your whole life that you're really good at that you only do once a year? Here's what I found. Humans can hear anything if it's true. So let's rethink the word feedback and think about it as telling people the truth, the honest truth about what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong in the moment when they're doing it. That good thing you just did, woo, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Go do that again. And people will do that again today, 3 more times. Lesson 6, your company needs to live out its values. So I was talking to a company not long ago, to the CEO. He was having trouble because the company was rocky and things weren't getting done on time, and he felt like things were sloppy. This also was a man who I observed never showed up to any meeting on time, ever. If you're part of a leadership team, the most important thing that you can do to uphold your values is to live them. People can't be what they can't see. We say, yes, we're here for equality, and then we proudly pound our chests because we achieved 30% representation of women on an executive team. Well, that's not equal, that's 30%. Lesson 7, all startup ideas are stupid. I spend a lot of time with startups, and I have a lot of friends that work in larger, more established companies. They're always poo-pooing the companies that I work with. That is such a stupid idea. Well, guess what? All startup ideas are stupid. If they were reasonable, somebody else would have already been doing them. Lesson 8, every company needs to be excited for change. Beware of the smoke of nostalgia. If you find yourself saying, remember the way it used to be, I want you to shift your thinking to say, think about the way it's going to be. If I had a dream company, I would walk in the door and I would say, everything's changed. All bets are off. Running as fast as we can to the right. And now we're going to take a hard left. And everybody in the company would stand up and go, yes. It's a pretty exciting world out there and it's changing all the time. The more we embrace it, the more we get excited about it, the more fun we're going to have.
Stouffer's makes you happy, folks.
Oh, Stouffer's. I can't figure out how to get it to stop.
2 times the meat and 3 kinds of cheese.
There we go. So the reason I like that, even though it wasn't saying here's how to build morale, is I liked the kind of overall thread of, it seemed like sincerity and trust that I think really helps like build morale and build a team. Like it was very open and honest. And like I say, I think the best way to build morale on your team is to let the people that work for you know that you trust them to do their jobs. So that's why I like that. But I do have also something a little harder. Close the Stouffer's ad. Okay. Everybody see that? Okay, so this is just 9 simple ways to build a collaborative, successful work environment. 1, create a clear and compelling cause. So I think when people, kind of what we've been talking about from the beginning with our, values and everything else like that, people who can unite around a common cause can get a lot done. Communicate expectations. So I like the idea of this. They talked about with if everybody knows what they need to be doing. So instead of working around people's, I think one of the ones was instead of working around people's weaknesses, work towards their strengths. Establishing team goals. If you can set little mini goals, like outside of, like for us, like outside of enrollment goals or something like that, which is like a big thing at the end of the year. If you can establish these kind of like mini goals that happen more frequently, that's a great way to make people feel like they are accomplishing things on a more regular basis. Oh, there, I got them mixed up. So yeah, the team member strengths. So, and those might be things that are unconventional for what the person's role necessarily is. Like in our office, like Ryan Bosky Cox has done, got a master's degree, and she knows a lot more about, professional development type things and project management and stuff like that. And so giving her jobs that relate to those strengths is a great way for her to kind of expand what she's able to do outside of, being a designer. Foster cohesion between team members. So that's, I think, just generally open communication, keeping people in the loop about things that you wouldn't necessarily think that they would need to know. Things from, like when Josh sends out the weekly update and stuff like that, all of that doesn't apply directly to all of us, but you feel more invested if you feel like you're kept in the loop. Encouraging innovation. I know that that's one of our, links directly to one of our values, but in being open to new ideas in a non-judgmental environment. I've pasted the wrong thing on number 7. We can all learn Latin now. That's really funny. Keep promises and honor requests. Basically that one, it's pretty obvious, but the article that I got this from framed it as customers, but with us, when we work with clients or students or families or anything else like that, but also across areas to keep your promises. We all know it's very important to keep our promises to a student or a parent, or a boss or that kind of thing. But as far as keeping promises across groups and among each other, and also honoring requests that are accomplishable. Encourage people to socialize outside of work. We were talking about that before we got started. That's just always a fun way to get to know people. And then recognizing and celebrating collaboration. So those are just some basic things. And I also, so I have this document that I started that I'm going to send out to everybody. So I have these list of resources, and I made a YouTube playlist because I had a lot of videos that I really liked, and I couldn't pick just one. And so I thought, I'm going to make a playlist, and then we can add things. Once I send the link, everybody will be able to add videos to this. So like the ones that we've already done the presentations to, if they were on YouTube, if you want to go back and add them to the playlist, and then we can just kind of have a collection, because I really liked all of them. And in my mind, I was like, well, these all relate and they all completely work. And so I just really had a hard time sharing. So this is my way of sharing all of them. And then I started making a list of team building activities that don't suck. And so if people want to add their ideas on here, like we were talking about, like going to the lake and taking a walk and that kind of stuff. So that's what that is. So then this is my ideas for tasks to do for homework. Inventorying your staff's strengths and considering if you're using them in the best way. You might have somebody that you don't even realize the skill that they have and how it could apply to your office, you know. Trying to connect with your staff in a more personal, non-work way, like just chatting about movies or anything like that. Plan something fun for your team, which is another thing we were talking about, like getting into a fight with a rival team in a parking lot. And thinking about creating a team tradition. Something, it's not so much a tradition, but like I helped Mandy design the shirts for financial aid, or if it's like every other Friday we do this, something like that, that allows the team to come together in a different way and becomes kind of a traditional thing. Like, I know all of that's hard right now, but hopefully we can do more of it. Like this office, like you guys used to go bowling like every Wednesday and stuff like that, you know, things like that, that are a little outside of your traditional office-y team building activities. That's what I have.
I love it, especially the Anchorman reference. Yeah, Brick killed the guy.
With a trident. I realized that I just kind of barreled through that and didn't really include much discussion or anything. So I don't know if we just want to chat about ideas, or like I said, it's such a big topic in a way that touches on all the other ones. I mean, anybody can go find all these different, you know, ways to encourage teamwork and stuff like that, you know, online.
I'll give you my quick thoughts about I really like this Patty McCord lady. I've never heard of her. And,
yeah, me neither.
She seems like she's the bomb.com. I like what she's saying. One of the things that really stuck out to me was everyone should understand the business.
Yeah.
And for me, I oftentimes have students working under me, and they come in and they know the university from the student side, but they don't understand the business office and the colleges and all the pieces working together and how we're providing services to these other groups. And so I think that to me was like light bulb moment, like, man, I should really talk to my students about how the university actually operates. And, you know, what does a dean want? What does a department chair want? Because I feel like when my students are building apps and they're working with these people, they don't really, and they're building like a sign-off process for a dean or a chair, they don't really understand, like, well, what does a dean or chair do? What do they want? And so
Right.
I think for everyone to understand the business, especially the business of a university, which I think people stereotypically have an idea of a university, you know, so academic, but really all of us are really in the business side of things. So I like that.
Yeah. And I've been kind of bad about that too. And I thought about that, like I work, you know, like I'm on comp plan and have familiarity with like the enrollment cycle and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know how much the other people in my office know those things, you know, and how they affect the calendar year and you know, our goals and what we're focusing on and that kind of stuff. And so I'm not always great at communicating that because I'm just like a lot of us, I think, are just focused on doing the things that we need to do. And so it can get hard to remember to communicate. But I think the more people, like I said, the more people feel included. And also you just never know when you'll get a good idea from somebody for some of these things, you know? So.
Yeah, the hardest thing about, you know, making this whole concept happening was just, you know, the distraction of the tyranny of the urgent. You know, it's like anything that's happening right now, it's the tyranny of the urgent, and you just got to take a step back or set time aside to think about those things that improve the system overall. Like if you're just constantly working on that urgent need, you know, you're never looking at the bigger picture, and you're not making those investments that have the long-term advantages and gains. And so I really like, you know, Nate, what you picked up on from the video, from the standpoint of helping our employees understand the greater system in the business of the university. Like I've been so impressed. My brother just started with Okta, and he's doing 3 months of onboarding and certifications. Like I'm just like, they are so invested in making sure that he understands the product, why it's awesome, and equipping him to do his job well. I mean, can you imagine if we had a 3-month onboarding process for our employees? I'm just like, it is unreal. And I know the tech companies have money and resources that we don't have. But I just think about our new employees that come on board, and it's just, sometimes they get a great onboarding, and it just depends on how much the tyranny of the urgent is just sucking up all our resources, you know? And just, so I just would challenge you guys, just take that time to think about ways that you can invest and I even think it's just about admissions, the way you've got a counselor mentoring another counselor, like those relationships are just huge for equipping and even just that new employee having that resource. Sorry about my phone. I just think it's a big deal, but I've really just been challenged as of late, just asking myself, you know, like how do we, because onboarding is a part of that process. You know, we've talked about the core values, but you know, how do we integrate those new employees so that, you know, they're part of the team and they feel equipped?
I think one of the issues that we have here, and this is outside of our area, so I don't know how much we can control, is that it can vary so wildly from area to area at Eastern. You know, some people it's great because that manager pays attention, you know, and cares about it. Other areas it's completely inconsistent. And I feel like we talked about this when we did like the branding stuff, is trying to integrate some of that into like with HR, you know, as far as like that kind of thing. And I know that they're so overtaxed right now, but I wonder if we didn't provide them some resources, if they wouldn't want to use them for onboarding just for across the university.
That's not a bad idea, Christy.
Another thing I picked up from the Patty video is she said, don't say remember how it used to be, say think how it could be.
Yeah.
And I think I fall into that trap a lot, because when I started at EIU, we had fuck tons of money. People could go to conferences. We could buy new computers when we needed them. And right now we hardly have enough computers even for our staff. So I think sometimes I fall into the trap of saying, like, remember how it used to be? And that's probably not good for like our new students. It's probably not, I'm realizing now it's not setting a good attitude or tone. Or I'm sure like if I was new and someone said, well, it used to be so much better. I'm like, well, fuck, that doesn't sound good. So maybe I could do some more of like, well, you know what? It could be great. I mean, not just blind optimism, but you know, maybe my tone of it used to be so great isn't really benefiting anybody.
Yeah. It does.
Go ahead, Christy.
It gets hard to like walk the line between being like Pollyanna and realistic, you know, and cynical, that kind of thing, which I think can be really difficult. But as far as employee morale and team building goes, I think that sincerity and honesty always go, you know, like you can have both of those realities can exist at the same time. You know, like you can say like, it was great when we had a bunch of money, and also it could be great in the future if we can do A, B, and C, those sorts of things. And so I feel like if they don't feel like you're just blowing smoke, you know, your employee, like your staff, I think that goes a long way. Like I said, about feeling trusted and trusting them, you know.
Yeah, even just that point that underlie that that whole part that you talked about, just being excited about change. That's hard. Just change in general. I mean, I think about all the blowback that Ryan's getting right now over MFA. You know, it's something that we need to do, but it's a change. And for me, like I'm like, I gotta do this push every time I log on to a computer in a classroom. Like I'm like, this is insane. Like I'm getting so mad at Ryan, you know, not even thinking about, well, what happens when this rolls out to the whole campus, you know, like all the faculty are burning him, but it's important, you know, it's like seeing beyond myself is so important when it comes to being excited about change. And I think, Nate, just to add on to what you talked about, it's like, yeah, right now is our reality, but there's such great opportunity for us to, you know, move to a new reality that's better than today, you know, and it comes through our hard work and our creativity and our ingenuity. You know, it's just so much opportunity. And I think that's when you're being honest, you know, it's not about returning to the past. It's about plotting toward step by step to a new reality that's better than today for our students, for our faculty, and for our staff. And our team is such a huge part of that.
Yeah, and obviously universities aren't known for, you know, being on rails when it comes to change. You know, things happen at a glacial pace because we've managed to build up so many procedures and regulations and everything else, but like one of those accept the things you can't change sort of situations. And like, just, I think that the team that we have now is so much more agile when it comes to that, and being able to change the things we can for the better. And then hopefully just hope it, you know, has a ripple effect on other things.
It's a good piece, except the things you can change, except I don't care if I can or cannot change CashNet. I'm going to try and change that one.
Gibson and I were chatting the other day. We decided neither of us can retire until it's fixed. Yeah.
So I had a couple of questions for you all. Just what do you do within your organization that you believe has contributed the most to team cohesion? Like makes your staff feel like they're part of a team? What are you doing? And I'm asking this question because I know that all of you are doing some great things and different things. And so what are you doing to create team cohesion? What have you done in the past that you've seen have really worked, that really made the team feel like they were working together toward a common purpose?
For me, it's when we get a couple people working on a project at the same time. So we'll get, like right now, me and Lucas are working on this new calendar for the university, and he's working on one piece, I'm working on the other, and it just feels like cohesion for sure. Another thing that I brought up before is I think bringing everybody into, when we start a project, bringing everybody into a meeting and making it fun, getting lunch together. That has been a big one. We used to play ping pong or basketball together over the lunch hour. That was a good time. We'll probably try and bring that back. One of the things I have planned, and I can't remember if I told you guys or not, but one of the things that I'm excited about, and my team is excited about, as I've talked to them about it, they're actually pretty stoked. And I feel like it's almost a rite of passage for programmers. We're gonna have an all-day like code-a-thon. We're gonna wake up at 7 or 8, get in the office, and we're gonna have it planned. We're like, okay, we're gonna code for an hour and then come back, talk for a few minutes, and then code. And you have to save your questions for the breaks. We're gonna get lunch brought in. We're gonna go out to the lake. We're gonna stay late in the office to like 10. We're gonna. I mean, obviously, I won't break any HR rules or anything, but we're gonna have a great time. And what's cool is everyone's looking forward to it. So having something to look forward to, I feel like is a good team building thing too.
Absolutely. Jenny, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I couldn't get myself off mute. But yeah, I was just kind of a little bit like Nate was saying, what we've been doing a lot more here is just a lot of the cross training and working with each other. And also what Christy was talking about in the beginning on hers was just the building of morale by letting staff know that you trust that they know what they're doing. So I think we've done a lot better job recently of trying to equip all of our staff with the knowledge and resources they have to be able to do more and grow more, and then letting them know that we trust that they can do it. And I think we were stuck in a rut for a long time where everyone thought we were so individualized in this is your area of expertise and only you do that and no one else does that. And you know, I mean, I've been in this office for 15 years now, and it was that way for a lot of years, and we just knew you only talk to this person about this thing, and we're just moving away from that a lot more. And I think people feel a lot more ownership in the whole financial aid process now.
Jenny, I
At least
feel
I
like
hope
you're priming your topic for next week, you know,
Yes,
culture of empowerment.
it is, and I love that because again, I started here a long time ago when we didn't have the opportunity of empowerment at all. It just wasn't, it didn't exist. You know, and when Jerry came, that was when we first had that, and he couldn't believe that we did not have any opportunity for growth or any opportunity for any kind of, you know, learning outside of our four walls, you know, for other institutions and people who do what we do. And that's been just amazing for me, especially working with veterans. I have to use resources from other schools all the time to help me through this process of, you know, all the changes that happen with veterans on a daily basis almost. So
One of the other videos that I wanted to share, it's in the playlist. It's at Michael C. Bush, I think his name is. And one of the things he talked about was some hotel chain, I can't remember which one it was, that has like super high employee satisfaction because all of their employees are allowed to do what they think is the best thing. They don't have to run it up 14 chains command, you know, and so that's why they have really, really good customer service and really good, you know, like employee retention and all that kind of stuff, because their employees are empowered to do what they think is best. And back to what Patty was saying about how like these are adults that work for, you know, I think that the best way to absolutely kill morale is micromanagement, you know, because nobody likes to be in that situation. So yeah. And that's why I was saying this topic is so kind of easy and hard at the same time, because it just is everything else all wrapped up. So
I'll say it's so broad.
yeah.
Kelly, I definitely want to hear from you. I know you do a lot of great things at admissions.
Well, and the set, if I could change one thing in our office would be the setup of this, how things are laid out and how compartmentalized things are. Like if we were one big office suite, it would be awesome. But people do get kind of stuck in their hole. So it's getting up and doing things, being intentional about that. With us, a lot of our team building and stuff revolves around our events. You know, you learn a lot about each other as you show up at 6:30 in the morning to throw the tablecloths out, and you know, you're working with families and everybody's in it together. We had a tradition of after a large scale event, one, it turned into a little bit of a competition with our recruitment staff on who had the highest attendance, that sort of thing. We did an award ceremony afterwards. We and then went to our house for food and drinks afterwards, so that because we don't have the opportunity for our Chicago area folks to be here. And that's been really hard during this whole COVID thing. You know, Omar popped in yesterday, and I haven't seen Omar in person since I met him in Champaign to give him his computer back after IT had worked on it, you know. So those large scale events that everybody's involved with are huge. We do the birthday thing. We do, you know, this year, I can't believe I missed this. We always would go to the support staff lunch together. That was like last week. I didn't, not the luncheon, but the appreciation day. And we missed it because we're just out of sync. So, but you know, we had a chocolate chip cookie bake off earlier this year and had celebrity judges, and it was live streamed so that everyone could participate. So try to do a lot of that.
Yeah, that was really fun. And it's those kind of creative activities that are, you know, outside of the work context, which, you know, a lot of both your PowerPoint and both your PowerPoint and your challenge, you know, talk about that outside the work context. And I think that, you know, all the admissions staff meeting at your house, Kelly, like it's just a unique experience that allow them to connect on a level that's not just professional, but it's personal, you know. Just one more, we only have like a couple more minutes, a few more minutes. I want to ask you this question too. This was in Christy's PowerPoint, and I think it's so important that we inspire our people. Like that's just, hopefully we're hiring motivated people, but it's when you connect someone who's motivated with inspiration that there's no limit to what we can accomplish together. And so what are some of the ways that you inspire your staff? Because it's not a Braveheart speech necessarily. None of us are giving those. You know, there are just so many other ways for us to inspire our staff. How do you inspire your staff? How do you not motivate, but how do you inspire them?
This is when my imposter syndrome kicks in really hard, and I could not tell you a single thing. Like I can't. That's why I have a hard time with it. Like with this in general. I mean, you guys know that I can talk in a meeting, but as soon as you have to present yourself as an authority on something, I suddenly feel like I'm in one of those dreams where I showed up and like it's finals and I haven't been to the class all year or something. Like I can't. I don't know.
I certainly understand, Christy.
I can identify it in other people, you know, like with Nate, and I see the way he works with his team, and like it's inspiring to see how good he is at like nurturing, especially like young staff and stuff like that. And he's so good at what he does, and I think they definitely look up to him and want to be at that level. You know, I could identify those qualities in probably everybody else here. I don't know how to do it for myself. Maybe other people are better at doing that.
Yeah, maybe you're not alone, Christy. Maybe none of us have the answer here.
I know, everybody's so bad at talking about themselves like that.
Well, I am not a motivational speech person. That actually kind of geeks me out more than it helps me. So I think inspiration comes from, it has to be genuine. It has to be, you know, recognizing the small stuff when people do things for each other and building that team, and it's more like a family. So yeah, the Braveheart speeches never really did anything for me. They just make me kind of cringe. So
I think the way that we all can kind of do it is sort of that living your values thing. When she talked about the guy whose company was in bad shape or whatever, and he never showed up to a meeting on it, you know, it's kind of walking the walk with it. I think that's how we can do it, is not just paying lip service to things like our values and our beliefs and our mission and everything else like that, but actually living it, I think is how we can do it on a day-to-day basis, you know.
As I look at all of you, all 6 of you, I just think you guys lead incredibly by example. There's not a single one of you that doesn't. And that's an awesome way to inspire. Christy, you're spot on. Your appreciation, you know, that's a way that we don't think about. You're inspiring your people when you appreciate them. And I know some of this is all intertwined as we continue some of these sessions. You know, inspiration just comes in different forms, and you probably don't even realize it when you are. Even just getting to know your employees on a personal level, that inspires them because it shows that you care. And so I want you to think more about that, just in line with this topic, how you inspire your employees, and you know what are and you're just going to do this naturally as we work through these topics, but I just think we can never have enough of that, you know, because we don't have the compensation all the time to motivate employees. Like that inspiration is just so important. We can find those ways, and was a great topic last week on that. Anything else anyone wants to contribute before we wrap up this meeting? Okay, awesome. Well, Christy, if you just want to send out those application pieces and then the link which you did share.
I'll email it though, just so it doesn't get lost.
Awesome. That would be fantastic. Thank you all for your time today. Christy, thank you for taking the time to prepare that. The list, the YouTube list, and then also the presentation was great. Good conversation. Really appreciate it for sure. You all have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you.